Hi, and welcome into the TechHub.training Excel Allowable Expenses Challenge solution. Let's jump right in. We've got a lot to cover. In this challenge, we were asked to find how much money we spent on different categories of expenses for our company, because for tax purposes, some expenses are not allowed to be deducted against our income, such as meals and taxes. So we need to find those expenses, that amount, so we can add that back into our book income to find our taxable income. So we start by looking for all of the meals. To do that, we go to our data tab at the top, and we click on our advanced filtering. Make sure that you've clicked into your table, because then it'll automatically grab that range. However, we also have a total row, so I'm going to remove that. And our criteria range is these first two. So what we got to do is type in meals. And then we hit our advanced filtering, get rid of the total row. Okay. And there we go. We only have meals, and we see that our total is $61.75. $61.75. Now, you cannot just change it to taxes, unfortunately. Best practice is to clear the filter and then apply it again. And we only have our taxes, $5,500. Perfect. Clear that. The next one, we need to apply two filters, well, three actually, at the same time. So we go back to meals. We need our amount to be less than $100, and it has to have client in the description. And to do that, we just use the little asterisk as a wildcard so that it catches anything that happens before the word client and then anything that happens after the word client. And this is because in taxes, in order to deduct meals, it has to have a business purpose and it needs to be reasonable. And so this is just what has been determined to be reasonable and business related for our company. So now we go back to our advanced filter, get rid of the table row, and then make sure that it's the correct filter, hit OK, and voila, we have meals that are under $100 where it was with a client. And the total for that is $22.45. These ones here on the right are just for fun or practice. So I'll show you how to do one or two of them. So this first one, we are looking at meals once again, where the amount is greater than $50, and then a second filter for travel that's less than $500. So this will catch all of the transactions where the meal is greater than $50 and all of the transactions where travel is less than $500. It does not have to meet both of those, because obviously you can't meet both of them because each transaction only has one category. So we go back to our advanced filter, get rid of the total row, and then make sure you capture all of them, all of the different filters. Hit enter, enter, and there we go. Travel under 500, meals greater than 50. And we have 67 of those. So that's just for additional practice there. I'll clear the filter. We're going to move on to part 2 now, where we are looking at the last 3 years of 3 months of transactions. Because for prepaid expenses for an accrual method taxpayer, you cannot deduct that expense until you've received the service. And in this scenario, we haven't received any of our advertising yet. So we need to use array formulas to figure out how much money we've spent on each one in the last 3 months for each category of expense. So to start with that, we need to make sure that these are named correctly. So we go here, and we can do this by either going to the formulas and name manager, define name, or I prefer to just go here and type in date and hit enter. If you do not hit enter, then it won't capture it. So then we go date, there it is. Go here, call this one category, enter, amount, and description. Okay, so then we want to come over here, and in this cell, this is the only cell we're going to actually type in the formula. And we're going to start the formula with an equals sum, naturally. going to add another parenthesis there. So first we're going to start by looking at this date. And we want to make sure that we're using absolute references, so that way when we drag it across, it doesn't change off of the G column, but we will drag it down, so we need to make sure that it can move down rows. So first we're going to say this equals the date. And since we named this, it's looking for this number in this column, because then we're going to also make sure that it is catching the category. So here, and again, we need to make sure that it can move across and down appropriately. And this equals category. So what we have here is it's looking for this date and this category, and then it's going to get you the amount. So if this formula sees this date and this column and this category in this column, then it'll pull the amount and it'll sum every time it sees that. So we hit enter. Actually, we don't hit enter. We need to make sure that we hit Control-Shift-Enter to make it an array formula. And then we can drag it across, and we'll see on 10.5 we had two different transactions, one for office supplies, one for meals for 75 and 50 respectively, and it shows up right here. And then we drag it all the way down to capture all of the transactions. Now to check to make sure that it worked right, we can just sum each of the columns. And the total should match what we have on the left. And it does, 16,685. So we know that this worked correct. And you see the little brackets, meaning that they're all array formulas. And so bringing it all together in part 3, we have our book to tax differences here in this little table. So we're given this book taxable income of $589,000, and then here we have the three main expenses that are different between book and tax. Taxes and prepaid advertising are what we find here and here. The meals is a little bit different because we have to first take all of the meals, which we deducted for book purposes. We have to find the amount that's reasonable and then cut that amount in half and then add back the difference between the total and that half. Because for tax purposes, we were not allowed to take this much, and so we had to add this amount back into our taxable income. So when we do all that, we have a taxable income of $603,552.5, but that might go back down again if we receive this prepaid advertising within 3.5 months of paying for it. And that is the solution to the allowable expenses challenge on TechHub.training. Thank you.